Hi, folks. My name is Brooke, and I am so excited to be here today with Jason Willeford from Dillingham Insurance. Dillingham Insurance is one of the 5 regional Max Performer winners for 2025. This Max Performer Award is given to firms that are all-encompassing, holistic best practice firms. It's not just culture, it's not just growth, it's not just profitability, it's not just perpetuation, it's not just efficiencies, it's all of the above. So, Jason, congratulations on being a regional winner. I look forward to asking you many questions about what Dillingham is doing different to really achieve some best practices and top-notch metrics. But before we get into the meat of things, can you introduce yourself and Dillingham for the audience?
Brooke, thanks for having me, and it's an honor. We've been blessed by MarshBerry and Phil and the group we work with, Graham and the whole team. So thank you for having us and appreciate the award. I'm Jason Willeford. I've been with Dillingham Insurance for 24 years now, and started serving as CEO in 2021. Actually late 2020, so I guess I'm coming up on 5 years. We are a primarily family-owned, 4th-generation insurance agency out of Enid, Oklahoma is our headquarters, which is about an hour and a half northwest of Oklahoma City. Have offices in Oklahoma City, Tulsa, and Woodward. And we're about 60% commercial lines and 40% benefits, have an HR practice, have a personal lines practice as well. About 80, just shy of 80 employees, and we're 98 years old this year. So fun place to be, exciting times, and we have a lot of fun doing what we're doing. So thank you again.
98 years, 4 generations. I'm sure you're already looking ahead and planning that 100th birthday party, right?
We are. Yeah, I wasn't here then. I don't know if that came across, if that's just intuitive, but I wasn't here when it started. That was a bit before my time. But we have a really cool story. The founding of Tom Dillingham founded the company. What a neat guy. I'd love to tell that story, but yes, we're going to celebrate in a big way. We've kind of the hardest conversation is budget. How much do you spend on that? I think it's going to be a lot.
Probably, but you should spare no expense. This is a huge deal.
That's right. That's right. Not many companies make it to that.
We'll make sure MarshBerry gets our invite to come to the party, and we'll RSVP accordingly.
We would have it no other way. You better be there, Brooke.
Okay, so I've got a couple specific areas that Dillingham is really doing some best practice, amazing things in. So let's first start with organic growth. Specifically, your commercial lines book of business is in the top quartile of organic growth nationally. So can you talk to us about maybe 1 or 2 strategic initiatives that you've deployed in the last year or so that you think really help move the needle on that commercial lines growth?
Yeah, happy to. We're not trying to knock the cover off the ball, so to speak, every year. We're trying to consistently hit singles and doubles from that perspective. We got serious about it, and pragmatic is a word that I use a lot about it. About 6 or 7 years ago, we were doing it. We were always just naturally salespeople. We want to write new business. But by getting serious about it, we started by saying, hey, what's the right number every year? And we think we can write 15% net new business every year. That's all we're doing there. Simple math. We're taking, where did we end the prior year? We're taking 15% of that in total commissions and fees, and we're wanting to add that every year. Then the other thing we got serious about is being real that we lose business. The vast majority is by change of control, M&A activity, that sort of thing. But in mid-market, we're vulnerable to that. So we got serious and said, we're going to lose about 5% a year. And, if you went year to year, a lot of times it's 2 or 3%, but then you get hammered with a 7 or 8 or 10% year when you've had a lot of activity with clients getting bought, whatnot. So we target 10%. And then we just build a plan around it. So it's very practical, very pragmatic. We know that we can't count on every producer to do 200 or 250 or 300 every year, but we're real about what we can count on them. We have reasonable kind of minimums, so to speak. We've started focusing on hiring. We're serious about the NUP. We're serious about that. We keep track of it. And then ultimately, we hired Chris Green, who's just a stud. He runs our commercial lines sales and marketing, and he's really, really great at what he does, great at identifying new team members, great at motivating and leading our current team and helping them assess opportunities and close. So that's our secret. It's really just good old-fashioned hard work, blocking and tackling, and Chris Green.
Having the right talent definitely helps, but one thing that's different about Dillingham is also having the right metrics to be measuring against. Things like new business year over year is so much more effective than just growth year over year, because with the hard market, everybody's growing. But when the market starts to become more squishy and the rate increases are not as aggressive, if you've taken your eye off of that new business goal, you're going to be in trouble. So it sounds like you put yourself in a handsome situation.
That's right. I think you can't, it's kind of like riding a bicycle uphill. If you stop, you kind of get in trouble, you kind of start going backwards. So you have to keep churning. If you just allow the growth, for instance, you get some massive growth or complexity within a hard market that allows your revenue to grow, and you say, oh, we're really busy with that, so we're not going to focus on new business. You take your eye off the ball, you look up, and any momentum you'd picked up with prospects is lost. You develop bad habits. So we really push to stay on track. We're not trying to, run the marathon in 2 hours, not trying to sprint the marathon, so to speak, or knock the cover off the ball, whatever analogy you want to use, but stay consistent. Have a good, challenging goal that is doable, it's reachable. And so, yeah, that's our secret.
Well, let's move on to profitability, which some people think is exclusive from growth, which is not the case for Dillingham. In fact, your profitability metrics, from reward ratio to contingent income stability, is really top-notch in suggesting an efficient model. How are you maintaining high profitability while continuing to invest in talent and technology, which is high in expense?
Yeah. I think of that kind of threefold. One, we're pretty lean in our non-client facing positions, so we really try to make sure that we focus dollars on the positions that are facing clients, account managers and producers, and that type of personnel. But the back office personnel is pretty lean, and then as shareholders, we all fill pretty significant roles within the business, leadership wise. I think a big one is pursuing the right opportunities. We really know our target market, and we really steer our producers away from the wrong opportunities. So our average case size we see on the PHP is quite a bit higher than what's average. And that fits us. We know how to price that. We know how to work it. We know how to scale that. So I feel like we can add in our target market, we can add new business really efficiently without having to change staff, add a whole lot of new staff. And so then kind of like, if you go back to the other conversation, kind of like that NUP and that just current flywheel of adding new producers, consistently, not letting yourself get behind so that you put too much stress on the organization, but consistently adding. That allows us to add the right people that attract the right, that fit the right need for those target clients. And then just it's more of a consistent investment in talent, not trying to go and hire, all in one fell swoop, but just consistently evaluating and getting the right people in and out. I think that's been good for us as well. So all those things help us stay lean. But I think that the right opportunities, we're not bashful about, what we charge our clients either. We feel like we know what we're worth, and we do a pretty good job of charging the right fees and the right commission percentages. And so all those together add up to that.
Let's talk about the technology side and the investments that you make there. One of the opportunities you received as a winner of the Max Performer Award was to meet with the head of MarshBerry's intellectual capital team and market intelligence team. More specifically, you were hoping to talk about artificial intelligence, because that's been a big investment for you all. That's the sexiest topic that comes up at the Connect Peer Exchange meetings too. But some people really struggle with spending the money on things like artificial intelligence and development versus seeing the reward on it. Any experiences that you could share with us on AI and technology?
Yeah, Brooke, I think we're kind of where a lot of companies are. We know we're not going to win the AI race. That's not, we're not going to be able to spend at that kind of rate. We've built a technology subcommittee who's getting together regularly and talking through how can we, bring more pragmatic solutions that create efficiency in our business. We're a little bit slow to adopt and quick to evaluate, and so right now we're just spending a lot of time looking at what others are doing. There's no secret sauce for us there, either. I think just continue to be aware and know that, we're not going to be the ones who bring a solution to market there. I think just using it, practically. So a lot of our team's using it for, proposals and putting numbers together and that sort of thing, analytics, that sort of thing. But our idea is that our team's constantly evaluating all the ideas and opportunities that are out there and continuing to bring them to the team. And so I think it'll be probably another year or so before it really begins to make a dent in our business. So right now we're just kind of slowly evaluating what it can do for us.
Yeah, that's smart. Otherwise, you could be quote unquote left behind of the new trends that are out there.
Yeah.
I know that things like having niches, focusing on certain business that's qualified for Dillingham versus not, the AI, those are all things helping with your employee productivity. So switching gears to that metric, when we look at your agency's productivity per employee, you are best in class. Dillingham, actually, you are the peak performer. The revenue per service person is over $500,000, which is almost double of what we're seeing in the average. So what other internal practices, whether it's, again, the staffing, maybe training, focusing on that niche development, do you really credit to having that level of output per person?
I mean, I can't help on that question. I just want to go down the employee roster, and like Jessica and Tara and Tiffany and Roxanne and Amanda and Amber. And like, there's so many that are so good at their jobs. And we've just invested in them and they've invested in us. And so that's about attracting the right talent, treating them really well, putting them in a position to win, supporting them, putting the right resources around them. It also has to do with going after the right, prospective clients. We don't go after a bunch of, if it's high maintenance and small, that's not a fit for us. High maintenance and large, we can do that, but we're just really realistic about, how we earn revenue, and our producers know that. We don't compensate them for business below a certain level. But I want to almost go down our employee list. There's so many that are just really great at their job. They love providing great work. And so I think that's a lot about, the staff that we've recruited and the culture that we have here. But know the target market. Don't be bashful about what you charge your clients. Charge them a fair fee. Know what you're worth. And then just the efficiency of employees and kind of knowing, we know where their book sizes are. We know what they can manage at any given point. We don't ask them to go beyond what they feel comfortable with. But they all want to be a part of the new business process. So in terms of it, for our service people, they want to be able to take on a new piece of business because they like it. And so we keep that out there. We don't make them take on a new piece of business before they're ready. And we have that dialogue constantly so that we feel like we're supporting them well, but also letting them enjoy the fun of new business as well.
I think you're right. The employee roster is it's a big differentiator from one firm to another. I mean, some of the names you mentioned, the Taras, the Chris's, they don't grow on trees. So once you actually have them, you have to keep them engaged. You have to retain them because there's always this quote unquote war on the staffing and talent that's out in the insurance industry. That's something
If you give me more time, I got to read the rest of the list. There's a lot of them I didn't say. I need to say all of them.
We can do rolling credits at the end of the interview. So
yes, their
recognition. When it comes to your talent and turnover, you actually have done a fabulous job of retaining good talent. So you've managed to create a culture that retains experienced producers while also investing in that next generation of talent. You talk about NUP, which is that net unvalidated producer payroll. How many newbies are you bringing on that maybe haven't sold insurance before and giving them some runway to learn and to build up their own book of business? One thing that was cool about Dillingham is that your WAPA, your weighted average producer age, is only 47 years old, which is probably about 10 years younger than the average weighted average producer age. And folks, it's not an ageism conversation. There's just MarshBerry data that tells us that producers that are in younger tranches of age brackets actually write more new business on average than folks that have been in a higher WAPA firm. So what's key to building generational strengths while keeping your turnover so low?
I'm wondering if I can use this WAPA acronym. I mean, that's a new one. I've not been made aware of. But the hard part about this, Brooke, is that now I bring our WAPA up. So I've thought of myself as the young guy, and I'm not the young guy anymore. So I'm surprised to hear that ours is that good. I think we are young. We focus on that. As a matter of fact, I think we have two annual sales conferences. So we have a mid-year and a year-end. And our January conference, I want to say 2 years ago, one of the statistics that our CFO and I uncovered was that our younger producers under 40 had, for the first time ever, sold more total book of business that year than the older. And we announced that, and the trash talking began, and it's been so fun. But we just have a really, really great culture. We try to make it fun for them. We have a no jerks policy. Like, we don't hire jerks. If they're a jerk, they're not working here. I don't care if they're a $5 million producer. So that's not happening. It's not worth it for culture. That helps a lot. We see a lot of small town athletes. That's kind of a not everyone is that, but that's kind of a theme you would see here. Just competitive guys and girls that love what they do, and they want to beat their brother or sister, but they also want their brother or sister to do well. And that's kind of the culture. So you see a lot of cross-selling, a lot of team selling. We often say, like, hey, if you get a referral, you better close it, and you dang sure better do a good job with it, because that's like missing a touchdown pass when you're wide open. Like, I'm using too many sports analogies, but you know what I mean? It's like not enough effort. You owe that to your teammate. And so they take those seriously. They really, really want to get those cross-sell referrals. So that's really significant. And so we build that culture intentionally. We compete a lot, but we always reward and recognize the winner and say, all right, I'm going to go, try to beat you next time, but congratulations this time. So I think all of that matters. The team selling, the having fun. I think we pay them fairly. I think we pay them well. I don't know that we're the very, very top, but we're close. But I think it's fair what they earn, and it's for the right activities. So all those things go together. I guess I'm kind of jumping around a little bit, but the one else is reasonable expectations. So we have a minimum that they need to produce, but it's reasonable, and it's over a 2-year period, not just one. So they don't feel the heavy hand all the time, but then they want to do more. So all those together have created a pretty good culture where we're having a lot of fun. People want to work for us in our market, and we can tell that and see that. And so it's exciting.
Well, it sounds like you've created a safe space, right, for people to learn and to determine the Dillingham way. So that's the reasonable expectations portion of the conversation. I love the athlete analogy, or even finding that profile, because those people also understand the importance of teamwork and how it's actually not just production and sales and being a QB. It's also the importance of the service staff and the line, right? That there's taking care of the accounts on a day-to-day basis, or having that cross-sell relationship and making sure that you create that trust internally to be able to hand off a relationship that you've taken so long to cultivate. But probably my favorite that you just mentioned was the no jerks rule. I hate knowing that you can wake up and go to work and like who you're working with and admire those people. That makes the culture that much more desirable at Dillingham, I imagine.
Yeah. Life's too short. I certainly don't want to work with jerks, and I don't imagine they do either. So we're not doing it. We're not doing that. And I think our staff knows, our sales staff knows, we're not going to be successful without service team. So have respect for them, build good relationships with them, and that's a two-way street. So if you're just always telling them what to do and barking orders at them, that's not a good relationship. So how do you build great quality relationships? And those take time, and but they know that, and they know they can't be successful without them. And we hire great people on that side as well. So they know that they need to invest in those relationships, and that allows that team to continue to grow, and the service team to grow and do more things and advance their careers and do exciting new things in the business. And then that frees up time for the sales team to go doing what they're the best to. So that's the game plan, and we're trying to run it.
Fabulous. Okay, last question. Dillingham is a part of the MarshBerry Connect membership. So you've committed to quarterly benchmarking, semi-annual in-person meetings with other firms across the country to hold each other accountable for initiatives and set goals with one another. And of course, just generally network on best practices. So can you think back to your time in this membership? Is there one or two initiatives that you've adopted as a result of meeting with other executives like yourself from other firms in the industry?
No, well, not one or two. I guess other than to say the process of consistently identifying weak spots, being real about them, and then putting a plan together to fix them. I love the accountability of MarshBerry that, if we didn't do what we said we're going to do, we're going to have to meet with Phil and tell him we didn't do it. And that kind of sucks, like he's going to bust us a little bit. And I like that. I like that accountability. It's easy in this business to get focused on, whatever one client or fourth quarter or new opportunity and look up and go, we were working in the business, not on the business. So MarshBerry keeps us working on the business. And I love that. I love the accountability. I love that it gets shown up on the screen and everybody's going to see my PHP. And I respect that group. I really, really like those guys and gals. Are good friends and they're really, really bright. And I want to compete, I want our firm to look good. So that means, we identify the weak spots and we go hammer them, and take care of them. And so, and that consistency, that flywheel effect, so to speak, it adds up. And so it's really fun to look back and go, I can't remember how long we've been with MarshBerry, probably since 2017 or 18, somewhere around there. And to look how consistently, there's not any one year where we've just made massive amounts of progress, but you look back and go, man, we've made a lot of difference in 7 or 8 years together. Just identifying those weak spots, putting a plan together, addressing them, fixing them, and just go to the next one. So that's it. And it works. And so I'm grateful for MarshBerry and grateful to be recognized.
Well, clearly your commitment to taking time away from your business to work on your business is working. Congratulations again on your Regional Max Performer winner. And thank you so much for sharing some insights and best practices on what's going on in the Dillingham office to be able to make you one of the best and brightest in the industry. Thank you for your time, Jason.
Yeah, Brooke, thank you. It was great to get to chat with you.